So the next step now is to load the Azure Database with the ClinVar variants. First, we need to download the ClinVar data. So go to the following URL. This will let you go to the FTP server of the NCBI ClinVar data. The file which you have to download is variant_summary.tx.gz. Click on that file and it will get downloaded immediately. Once the download is finished, go and check the file in the Downloads folder. So here it is, variant_summary.tx.gz. So ending with gz means the file is zipped, and you can unzip it with your default unzipping tool. I will choose Archive Utility. So the zipped file was around 400 megabytes, and now the unzipped file is 3.6 gigabytes. So this file is huge, and if you try to open it with Excel or with any text editor, it will probably crash. So what I'm going to do, just to show you the first line of this file, I will open the Terminal app. And what I will do is cat -1, which takes the first line only, and then I will put the path of the file. variant_sample.txt. Let's make it a bit bigger, and then I will press enter. So you see here, this is one line, and it's actually the header of the ClinVar data. So you have a lot of columns. The first column is the allele ID, the second column is the type, third column name, then gene ID, gene symbol, and so on. So you have a lot of columns and probably a lot of rows also. So let's see how many rows do we have in this file. It's with this command. So it's around 8,300,000 lines in this files. So let's take the first two rows. So instead of head -1, I will do head -2. Just to show you how this information looks like, I will copy these values and I will open them in Excel. And I will paste the data here. So this data here, let's make it into columns. So you see here, the columns now are separated. You have first the allele ID, you have the type, so it's an indel. You have the name, gene ID, gene symbol, and so on. So we can load all of these columns inside Microsoft Azure. So what we will do now is we will create a table inside our Microsoft Azure database, and we will load all the ClinVar data there. So what I will do now, I will copy the header of this table and keep it for later because we will be using it. And now let's move to the next steps of loading the ClinVar data inside Microsoft Azure. First, let's download DBeaver. Write in Google, DBeaver download, and then go to the website, dbeaver.io, and then choose the package that suits your operating system. After you have successfully downloaded and installed DBeaver, open this application. You will get something like this as an opening screen for DBeaver. So first of all, we have to create the connection to the Azure Database. Press on this plus button, and then choose postgreSQL. Then next. And now, For the host, you have to type the name of the server which we have created. In case you have forgot, you can simply go to your Azure account. Here on the main screen, scroll down and check the resources which you have created. This is the last thing we have created. Press on it, and you will find the name of the server here. Just copy everything you have inside this endpoint field. Copy it, and let's paste it now in DBeaver. Now for the username and the password, it was the admin username and password, which you have also created. So let's go again, and you will find it here. So administrator login, admin ClinVar. Copy and paste it again inside DBeaver. And put the password which you have chosen. Now press on SSL here and make the mode require. Now let's test the connection and see if everything is working correctly. So in case you get a connection attempt timed out and then no further details, just try the following trick. Go again to your Azure Database homepage, scroll down, press on Configure Networking, and scroll down. You will see here, Add Current Client IP Address. This is your current IP. So we have already added yesterday our IP. But sometimes the ISP rotates the IP, so what was your IP yesterday might not be your IP today. So this is your new IP address, and you just have to press on it and add it to the list of IPs that are allowed to pass the firewall. Now go again to DBeaver and test the connection again. Perfect, so it's connected. If this shows an X here, just right-click and press on Connect to have the connection working. We will dive down into the steps of populating the database with the ClinVar variants. So we have the ClinVar data that we have downloaded, and we have already done the Azure postgreSQL database. In red, you see the header of the table of ClinVar. Now we cannot pour all the ClinVar data inside this Azure box. We have to create another box specifically for this kind of data, for the ClinVar data. We will call it ClinVar variant. It's the specific database that will contain our ClinVar variant. And this is the first step. The second step is we should create a table inside of that database which will contain the same header as the header of the ClinVar variants. Let's go back now to DBeaver and do the first step, which is creating the ClinVar_variants database inside Azure. So right-click on Postgres, go to SQL Editor, New SQL Script, and paste the following line. Create database ClinVar_variants. Then click on the orange arrow to execute this code. This video has been edited. That explains the little change in visuals you see. So now let's make sure that we are inside the ClinVar_variants database. Right-click on Postgres, Database, and what you see here is the name of the database displayed. We have to change this from Postgres to ClinVar variants because this is where we will pour in the ClinVar data. So right-click on Postgres and go to Edit Connection. And here change the name from the default database Postgres to ClinVar variants and press on OK, and then Yes. Now we should be inside of ClinVar_values, and you can see it here. So now the next step is to create the table inside of this database. Remember the header that we have saved from the ClinVar downloaded file? Let's have a look at it again. This is it. You have to add only the following sentence: create table, and let's call it variance, and open these braces with the semicolon at the end. And here if I've pasted this code and I added all of the headers of the ClinVar data inside of it, and then I specified that this type is text for all of it with a comma after it, and then I press on the orange arrow to execute this code. Now it's executed successfully. If I try to execute it again, you will get an error message that the table variance already exists. Now let's populate this table with the ClinVar data. Go again to postgreSQL on the left menu, Databases, ClinVar, Schemas, Tab, Public, Tables, and then right-click on your variance table. Now it's empty, only 8 kilobytes of data. Press on Import Data, and then CSV import from CSV file, browse your file, and choose the downloaded file. Here, make sure that the column delimiter is /t. If it's something else, please make it /t, because the ClinVar file is tab delimited. Now expand the variance _ summary. Here, you will see 3 main columns: the source, target, and mapping. Source is the header of the ClinVar data, target is the header of the newly created table, and mapping means if DBeaver was able to map the source column to the target column. If it says existing, it means you're on the safe side, and if it says create, it means it wasn't able to locate the specific column. And we have this case for 3 columns here, for allele ID, and yeah, only these 3 columns for RS and NSV. Let's go back to see what we have really written here. So for the allele ID, we don't have a hash actually when we created the table, because we cannot name table columns inside the Azure with a hash. Save for the RS and the NSV, we have removed the spaces and we have put _. So what we have to do now is just replace these names with the names that we already saw in the previous screen. So go back to import the data again and follow the same steps. Browse your file, variance summary. Next, expand. And let's rename the allele ID and put it without a hash, because this is how we have created actually the table. So now it says existing, perfect. Here. And here we remove all the extra characters in the hash, and we put an _ the same way we named it when we created the table. Now it says existing, perfect, press on next. You will get a message that this will remove all data from the target table if the table already exists. Has existing data, just press on yes. And here, make sure that the dual commit after row insert is placed to 10,000 and use multi-row value insert of 1,000, and then press on proceed. Now this process will take around 1 hour to populate all of the ClinVar data inside of the created ClinVar _ variance database. So after around 1 hour, the import was complete. You can make sure by checking the newly created table variance, you see that the size is 4.1 GB. So congratulations, you have everything now ready to start with the end-to-end workflow.